Alright everyone, we've now learned that over in the UK you can literally be fined 300 Queenbux, whatever you use now, shillings or pence or pounds or euros. I don't know and I don't care really at this point. You can be fined now for having a dirty car. By the way, they're not crisps, they're chips. What you call chips are French fries, or in some cases freedom fries. There is one restaurant here in Rutland that still has that on their menu. It's Seward's, by the way, very, very good French fries. Get the beer battered fries, just trust me if you're ever there. Hot dog and beer battered fries for the win. This is slightly amusing because it shows, hey, the UK is legalistic, you need a license for everything over there. It's like basically 100 years from now how the US will function if the Democrats have their way. But it's also worrisome on several levels. The first is England, of course. The land of ancestry of many Americans, certainly mine. More than half of my blood comes from England, so I'm looking across and saying, well, my ancestors helped contribute to this now decently advanced country, and they're pissing it away. Their current leaders, like Theresa May, whose approval I think is in the mid-20s, it's like, yeah, Trump is so disliked. His approval's 20 points ahead of Theresa May or Macron. So keep that in mind when you study the politics of the U.S. You're pissing away what was an empire, then it was just a major power, and now it's no longer even a major power. Not even in the top 4. It's not even going to be in the top 10 come 2040. That's my prediction. India has supplanted you, knocked you out of the top 5. You're probably going to be outside of the top 10. You'll be down where Russia is. A former power, a rust bucket of its former self. And it'll be a little bit more dreary over in the UK than it is currently. And I'm not saying this because, oh, well, damn those, British people. No, I'm saying that because because of point number 2, which is the second worrisome thing, is generally you want countries you're associated with and friendly with to be powerful. You want your allies to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. What's UK? Major partner within NATO, major player within the US sort of sphere, longtime friend, longtime trading partner, longtime military ally. And so I'm looking over and saying, well, it looks like most of the countries we're allied with are weakening over time, largely due to neoliberalism, especially in the case within the UK. So that's not fun. It's not fun to think of, well, if their economy collapses or their military is a joke, it makes us technically weaker too, because we're not just a nation. We're also the main, the partner within a sphere of nations that pledges itself to the world's largest military and economic alliance. So that doesn't make things easier for the US, makes things infinitely harder. And it's like the UK is like, we're going to leave the EU because of bad governance, so that we can have even worse governance. It's like the UK has transitioned into a new form of government. Dystopianism. That is, the government there and the elites, the moneyed powers that be in the UK have decided to turn the entire nation into a living experiment into how bad a country can operate. How much a government can be inept, corrupt, and stupid. And the third point, the third worrisome point, as the UK slips towards dystopianism, it affects somebody like me. A large proportion of my audience outside of the United States, the UK, I believe, is the big number 2 as far as my audience on YouTube. Probably there or close to it on many platforms. So it affects me. If you slip into dystopianism and stop accessing my material, yeah, ultimately it affects my bottom line to some degree as well, just on an economic scale. Being totally selfish here, yeah, if you got like, what, 10-15% of your audience suddenly unable to subscribe to your channel or get to some of your links, and it's like, well, the crown, it pleases the crown to block this part of this website. Yeah, that affects somebody like me too on this side of the pond. It shouldn't, but ultimately it does. Not everyone knows how to use a VPN. Not everyone knows how to use like an alt-text site that has the same content. Like BitChute probably wouldn't be blocked there. It's actually funny, because some of the most censorious governments have done a piss-poor job at actually blocking material out. Because they focus on a big website without realizing there are smaller alternatives. They don't even notice their existence. It's like Gab has just absorbed an enormous number of Kenyans and Brazilians because of crackdowns on Twitter. And so their audience there has ballooned. They're talking about, I think, probably close to a 6-figure total of new users from just a few nations, simply because Twitter keeps making stupid mistakes. By the way, the same thing can happen elsewhere. Like Facebook has already jettisoned half of its audience. Don't try and tell me that their 100 million users is not largely comprised of people who don't interact with content. Facebook's becoming a ghost town, and that problem's going to increase over time. By the way, bull trap successfully predicted. Their stock is beginning to crawl upwards at a slower pace than it should. It'll peak out a little bit above its former peak, and eventually it'll collapse out of existence, and Zuckerberg will jettison his own company. You watch. He'll sell some of his stock before it happens. He won't sell it all. He doesn't want to make it too conspicuous. He's like, yeah, I'm dumping all my Facebook stock. Bye, everybody. I'm leaving. I don't think that'll happen, but he'll make out like a bandit and make sure he has a few extra $100 million in the bank to keep up his lavish lifestyle. Trust me, he'll do some insider trading that nobody can ever corroborate and prosecute because he's got his hands in the Senate. So in the UK, if you have a dirty car, you can get fined. It pleases the Queen that everyone should have a clean car. And the thing is, it's like because you don't have a rubbish removal license. So again, if you like drive down the street and there's like trash there, and they're like, oh, there's people are littering. I'm sick and tired of this. I'm like a Greenpeace member. I'm gonna pick up this trash. Oh, you got to pay for your license. Otherwise, you can't do that. You can't even clean up your own community without paying for a license in the UK. Here, I can go down the road and I don't need a fucking license. I can go with one of those little spear things and pick up trash if I want. Here in Vermont, we have Green Up Day every year. I think they should have 2 Green Up Days. I think they should have one in the fall as well before, the freeze sets in. I think they should have 2, make the state even more clean. It really does help. Trust me, you move from Vermont across to like New York, down into Massachusetts where they don't have as much environmental protection, you notice the difference almost immediately. You definitely do. It's like, I wonder if the Vermont Green Up clues ever go across the border a little bit and then laugh about it. No. I think it's dystopian, it's nightmarish, and it's concerning to me as an American on those 3 levels. On the very selfish personal economic level, it's bad news when Europe goes sour. Especially the UK, a major English-speaking country that contributes a double-digit total to my fucking audience on YouTube especially. I don't know, some of these other sites I use don't have proper analytics set up yet. I have no doubt that they eventually will. And definitely on the military scale or the economic scale as far as the Western world goes. And also it's just sad to see a country that, could have maintained its first world, very developed, very powerful status, piss it away. You're pissing away what could have been a very nice country by going in the wrong direction. Instead of in the direction of more freedom, the direction of more legalism, bureaucracy, slipping on towards exactly the sort of thing that Orwell warned you about. That's about all. Peace out.